This is Saturday, November 16th, 2003. And this is the beginning of an interview with Hilda Sayres at her home at 601 Sand Street, Ravenwood, West Virginia. Miss Sayres is 87 years old, having been born May 21st, 1916. Miss Sayres is a Christ Hospital School of Nursing graduate, and that is where I received her name as a vet from Christ Hospital. Miss Sayres, could you state for me in the recording what war and branch of service you served in, what was your rank, and where did you serve?
Now, why don't you look at this? When we went, can you turn that off?
Mm-hmm.
Heavy rain.
Go ahead.
I entered Christ Hospital School of Nursing in Cincinnati in 1934 and graduated in 1937. Following my graduation, I studied at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia for a year. Then I did public health nursing for 2 years in West Virginia. I went back to school at St. Mary of the Springs College in Columbus, Ohio in 1941 to 1943. I had joined the American Red Cross Nursing Corps when I graduated from training and indicated that I would prefer the Navy. I did not hear from them until 1942, and they said that they were bringing up, or they were getting in touch with people who had signed up with the Red Cross. I was in college and received a telegram in January of 1943 saying I should report to duty on or about in 2 weeks. Fortunately, the administration at the college were able to get me a deferment until May the 18th, 1943. I reported to Bainbridge, Maryland at that time. I was at Bainbridge for 6 months and then received orders for overseas. We went to, they were establishing a hospital unit to take care of Navy personnel in the European theater. And the unit consisted of 100 nurses, 60 doctors, and 400 corpsmen. There were approximately 20 people from each hospital, from each station in the United States. For instance, we had 20 from Norfolk, we had 20 from Bainbridge, Maryland, 20 from New Orleans, and this was true of the doctors and the corpsmen. We embarked from Long Island, New York, in January of 1944 on the Aquitania, along with thousands of other troops. We had a very rocky voyage because of the going north so far to England. We did not have, we did not go in a convoy. We landed in Scotland and went directly to London, where we stayed for 2 weeks while the hospital was being prepared in the Southampton area. In Southampton, when we went to Southampton, we went to this large English hospital, which had been called the Royal Victoria. We took it over from the American Army, who had been there for about a year. Our duties during the early part of 1944 were not rigorous. We took care of some English patients, some Italian patients, some French that had been wounded in the Middle East and brought back to England. But in June 1944, we were notified to clear the hospital entirely and get all of the preparations ready for casualties. Mm-hmm. Days prior to June 6, 1944, we were conscious of the continuous wave of planes flying over the hospital site on their way to France. The hospital was located on Southampton Waters, near the Isle of Wight. On Sunday, June 4th, we walked down to the pier. As far as the eye could see, there was a great armada of ships with barrage balloons extending into the sky. I think I'm emotional because I watched so many films on Armistice Day, and it just brought back.
Yeah.
Have you shut up? Not like this.
You want to take a break?
No. Okay.
Okay.
We were acutely conscious that the purpose of our assignment was soon to be realized. As we listened to General Eisenhower's message on June 6th announcing the invasion, our hearts were heavy, and we prayed that our skills would assist us in the lives of those whom we would care for. The first casualties arrived on D+4, or June 10th. The landing ship's tanks came into the pier. The patients were unloaded and transported the short distance to the hospital by ambulance. The first patients were mostly American Army personnel who had been injured as they approached the Normandy beaches. They lay on the beaches or been on transports in the Channel since the 6th due to stormy weather conditions. The number of U.S. Navy personnel who received treatment at our hospital was small. Those who were injured were hospitalized, treated, and evacuated. If recovery was estimated to 30 to 60 days, treatment continued and they were returned to duty in the European theater. If long convalescence was required, the wounded were evacuated back to the United States. The hospital served primarily as a receiving facility for the American Army. We admitted the patients, performed necessary surgery and treatment, and within 48 hours, transferred them by hospital train to an American Army hospital in other areas of England. The friend that I had from the Bainbridge, when I went to Bainbridge, was June Curtis, and we have remained friends through the years. In fact, we took a trip back to England in 1992, and again we went to Europe, England and Europe in 1994 for the D-Day anniversary. Now, where's Shaw's? Gosh. I'm trying to think if I should say anything about work that I did from
Sure.
when we returned to the States. We went to the air station at Jacksonville, Florida, and remained there. I was transferred to a glider base in Clinton, Oklahoma, in June of 45, excuse me, and was retired from the service in January of 1946. Following that time, I started teaching at St. Joseph Hospital School of Nursing in Parkersburg and was there for 8 years. Then I accepted a position with Kaiser Aluminum and Chemical, which had recently built a large plant in the Mid-Ohio Valley. I was there. I had set up the nursing department or the medical department and stayed there for 26 years. The last 3 years that I was employed by Kaiser as a corporate nurse, visiting all of the plants that Kaiser had throughout the country, auditing them for compliance of procedures. In 1991, at the end of 1991, I retired. Following that time, June Curtis, who had lived next door to me and had gone from station to station, we decided to go back to England to visit the hospital, the Royal Victoria Hospital, where we had served. It was a wonderful experience. We were disappointed when we got to down to the Southampton area to find out that the hospital had burned, but they had made a museum out of the chapel, the hospital. And they had, of course, things there from the Queen Victoria days. And we remembered so well, we thought they had forgotten us. But we got to the back of the museum, and there was large pictures that said, "The Americans have come," or "The Americans take over." So we felt like that we had not been forgotten. In 1994, when the anniversary of D-Day in Europe, we decided we would go back and take the tour. We went back to England for 3 days, staying in London for one, going down to the coast where Eisenhower had his headquarters, and then we took the ferry to France. We stayed in Normandy for 3 days, and this, I think, was the most exciting and memorable experience of the trip. We went to Omaha, Utah, Gold, and Sword beaches. The French people were absolutely delightful. They were all ready for the anniversary. They had flowers in every window box of every house, business, or anything else. And they would come up to us on the street and say how thankful they were that we could come back and how grateful they were for what we had done. The tour continued into France, and we stayed in Paris for 2 days. And then we went on to Germany and spent the rest of the time. We flew back to the States, and I've always been grateful that I was able to make the trip, because it was certainly memorable to what it was while we were over there. Is there anything else?
Thank you very much, Hilda. It was a wonderful interview. And the Christ Hospital and the Library of Congress will be very
Thank you.